This is an introduction to a piecewise defined function. Let's recall that in order to be a function, each input must generate only one output. So when we're asked to evaluate f at -3, there can only be one answer. When first introduced to it, a piecewise defined function looks quite strange. But essentially what's happening here is we have some criteria that determine which piece of the function we use when determining the output that corresponds with a particular domain element. The x value that we're plugging in is indicated inside the functional notation. We use the x value that's being plugged in to determine which piece of the function we're going to be plugging into. Since x is equal to -3 is less than 4, we'll plug -3 into the bottom piece. Remember, we can only have one output, so we can't plug it into both pieces. We have to decide which one is appropriate, and that's based on the x value that we're plugging in. So since we're plugging it into the bottom piece, we're going to open up holes for the x's. We have x over x plus 2, and our domain element -3 is going to be plugged in for those x spots. So we have -3 over -1, which simplifies down to being +3. And this is our one output that corresponds to the input, -3. Now we'll do this again for number 2. The x value that we're plugging in is 4. And so we look at these criteria fields to determine, do we plug 4 into the top piece or do we plug it into the bottom piece? Well, because 4 is greater than or equal to 4, we're going to use the top piece this time. So f at 4 is going to be determined by plugging 4 into x squared plus 1, and 4 goes into the x spot. 4 squared is 16 plus 1 is 17, and 17 is the only output that we get when we plug in x is equal to 4. Now let's do this once more for part 3. The x value that we're plugging in now is 6. 6 is greater than 4, and so again we're going to use the top piece to calculate the output value. So we copy down the top function, which is x squared plus 1, and we're going to plug 6 into the x variable. 6 squared is 36 plus 1 is 37, and this is the output that corresponds with the input, x is equal to 6.